Spiros Fatouros, CEO of Marsh and McLellan, joins me now. Thank you so much for your time today, Spiros. Give me a sense of why you've decided to become one of the sponsors for this year's AIE conference.
Thanks, Joanne. I think Marsh and McLellan has been a sponsor of this conference for well over 20 years, as far as I can remember. We've been a platinum sponsor, gold sponsor, a diamond sponsor. So we see this as really one of the preeminent events in the industry on an annual basis. And I think it's a great opportunity as the largest intermediary and risk advisor in the continent to really be here, have our presence felt, and really be at the forefront of having conversations with our insurance partners and with service providers in terms of some of the current challenges we see in the industry.
So how useful is the conference for tackling the kind of challenges you're facing right now?
I think it's very useful. I think you have a lot of formal conversations. So you have the formal, sessions where there's a lot of detailed information shared, some thought-provoking information, highlighting some of the trends. So I think that brings to the forefront, almost from a lecture perspective, what's happening around the world. But I think on the ground, it gives you the opportunity with intermediaries to work with insurers, to tackle real-world problems, to bring together bigger groups of people. So I think it's really useful. As our business, we've been very deliberate this year in setting up meetings with service providers, with insurance carriers, talking about some of the challenges and really using the opportunity as almost a brainstorming session to discuss some of the challenges at the moment.
Right. What are the main challenges you're facing right now?
So I think the biggest challenges are for our clients particularly, I think it's really been the changing risk landscape. We talk about COVID a lot. COVID was in 2020, but it was a big impact for the world economy. It was a big impact for the South African insurance industry. I think a lot of clients saw losses and impacts to their business. It was an untested insurance product. It was a long process of legal litigation that it went through. Ultimately, the court sided with a lot of the wordings that the intermediaries had put together and provided that protection to clients. So you had that event, you had the riots the following year, you had the KZN floods. So there's been a lot of issues from a South Africa perspective that's really heightened our risk and our ability to claim on the global stage. So historically, from a reinsurance market, from a global perspective, South Africa would be seen as a relatively benign risk from natural catastrophes. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes, etc. But the last few years, we've put a lot of claims into the global market. So I think it's changed the dynamic between the international market and the South African market. It's put a lot of pressure on pricing. So we've seen a huge increase in pricing for our customers. And it's asking intermediaries and clients and ultimately insurers to think differently about how we tackle these problems, as opposed to simply just passing a price increase through to customers. So customers have to be much more holistic and much more relevant in their risk management programs, what risks they retain, what risks they transfer, and what risks they manage. It's no longer, simply just buying the cheapest insurance.
Right. Just a last question about the changing industry. I believe there are a lot more young people here this year than there have been in previous years. So there's certainly a move in that direction. Do you think the industry needs to transform much more in terms of youth, race, women and the like?
I think the industry has a way to go. We're not necessarily seen as the sexist industry. We're not investment bankers. We're not movie stars. We're not rock stars. We're not YouTubers. But I think as an industry, it's one that I have for many years found very fulfilling. I think what makes this industry passionate or exciting is that day to day you deal with client issues. Day to day you deal with people. So it's a very personable industry. It's very relevant to society. And I think what's important, which often we lose, what is the value of insurance? Why are we here? And ultimately it's to put a business, a family member, a loved one, back in the position they were prior to the incident that happened. And I think that's critical to society. Without insurance, a small company couldn't compete against a big company. So I think it's a real enabler of society. And I think that message needs to get brought out much stronger to the younger generation. It's not simply, buying the cheapest car insurance. There's so much more fundamentally that we do as an industry. When you think about ESG, when you think about environmental issues, when you think about, as we've mentioned, COVID. As an industry, we've put the first man on the moon. There's a lot of things that we've done, which is really exciting. And I really think we need to promote that much better as an industry and really attract young talent. I think we've done exceptionally well, but I think we can do so much better in this industry.
Spiros Fatouros, thank you so much for your time. Lovely speaking to you.
Thank you so much.